so, so a nation is a stable mix, and it's also, and that mix also has a delicate composition that must not be. So you can say that this mix is on Earth is never ideal. It's never ideal. This mix is never ideal. It would be utopia to think so. It would be utopia to think so. Like, what's the problem with Korea? What's your the problem of Korea with respect to its neighbors? What's the disadvantage of Korea? With if I mention you Korea with respect to China, what's the problem? Korea is very small and China is huge. How do the Koreans protect themselves and remain independent with such a huge empire at their doorstep? And so they are obliged to go and get under the skirt of the United States and cry for mommy. You can't blame them for that. It's not cowardice, because China is so huge. So China was trying to arm and support, and also USSR were arming and support North Korea. So the Koreans says, hey, and then they called the Americans. And the Americans were happy to help because they are an empire, so they want to expand always and have a sphere of influence. But you cannot blame the Koreans for calling the help of the US. They are not to be blamed at all. And the problem still remains. Throughout history, Korea was invaded several times. It's not big enough. So you see, the mix is not ideal. There's always something imperfect. And when you have a country which is too big like China, also it's an unstable mix. So China, periodically they lose limbs. Poof, I've lost my arm. And Xinjiang is gone. For 500 years. Then they get it back. And then now they get Tibet. Okay, I'm adding a third arm, but that arm can be chopped off very easily. There's an internal problem in China. It can be chopped off, and so that's why they have this tremendous, cruel and centralized government, because it only takes rivers of blood and constant threats to keep such a vast amount of people together in one empire. So it's a problem. It's not. You could say the Chinese mix is not ideal. It's not going to work perfectly all the time, and they have to oppress the Tibetans all the time. That's the only way, because they see that if they lose Tibet, it's a weakness. They can't afford to be weak, because if they start to be weak in Tibet, they're gonna give courage to the Muslim rebels in Xinjiang, and so they're gonna lose Xinjiang. They already lost Taiwan because of communism, and so China is always in the process of trying to retain the members that fall off. So it's not an ideal mix either over there. And you've seen with Russia. Russia was unable to keep its empire. Its empire was dismembered at the end of the Cold War. For Russians, it is the worst historical catastrophe in the history of Russia. What happened in 1989? They all refer it as the biggest catastrophe in history. That is, all the conquest of the Tsars, from Peter II through Catherine the Great, Alexander III, and so forth. All these conquests were lost in one stroke of the pen. And so Russia now is going to try to undo this catastrophe. So you got to understand their motivations. No nation has an ideal mix. On this earth, this Valley of Tears, there is always this instability. amongst all cities, the church is the most perfect one. Amongst all cities, the church is the most perfect one. The church is the most perfect one because of its end. Because of its end. Among all the cities, the church is the most perfect one because of its end, which is a possession of God. Because of its end, which is a possession of God. It's the highest purpose of a society, which is a possession of God. Hence the name Jerusalem, or vision of peace. Hence the name Jerusalem, or vision of peace. As we saw in the quote of Aristotle, the goal of the city is to bring about happiness. Well, temporal cities can only bring partial happiness. Well, more or less Filipinos are happy folks. There is, a decent measure of happiness here. Not in the cities, I would say, but people in the valley here, they are not that unhappy. I don't see them as unhappy people. Our neighbors. The old man, is he a happy man?
Yes.
Yes, he's definitely a happy man. And the people down the house over there, they're blasting their eardrums. Are they happy? Well, they are crazy, but yeah. So they have, some natural happiness there. Well, that's, a decently functioning state. Or you could say a sufficiently dysfunctioning state. Because the Filipino state is sufficiently dysfunctional so it doesn't make our life miserable. We could not be in China. In China, we couldn't go to the mountain and run our seminary here. Immediately, we have the People's Liberation Army, running after us, and then they would torch the place, and then they would put us into labor camps. That's it. That would be. It would take them 48 hours. All right. Whereas in the Philippines here, the state is leaving us alone. They are leaving us alone. Now, if we were in Cebu and everything, they would not leave us alone, because we would be within the arm's reach. Right? But here, they are leaving us alone. And so I think most Filipinos are happy because they are left alone, more or less. And there are no invasions taking place, right now. There is no Japanese occupation, and the Americans are gone. The cities are a mess, yes. In the countryside, you can be happy. So you get plenty of Westerners. They take their retirement money and they come to the Philippines and they buy themselves a palace and they're happy here. So it's a happy place. But that happiness is still a limited natural happiness, like the happiness in Limbo. It's a limited happiness. Now the sovereign happiness of man is a possession of God. So it is in her, the church, it is in her that the notions of city, state, nation, and fatherland. It is in her that the notions of city, state, nation, and fatherland are perfectly realized. For instance, the notion of nation is tied to birth. Birth, where we all have the exact same birth, which is We are all born the same way. How? In the Catholic Church.
Baptism.
Baptism. So we have the same birth. And the notion of fatherland depends on fatherhood. We all have the same
Fatherland.
father. We all go to the same fatherland as well, yes. We're all on our way to the same fatherland. And state, we have a state which is indefectible, which has the promises of our Lord Jesus Christ. So the Catholic Church is a civil entity that cannot ever defect. The confirmation is the crisis of today. Satan has not yet been able to destroy the Catholic Church entirely. He always says, give me more time, I'll do it. Well, our Lord is growing impatient. Our Lord is telling him, I gave you 100 years. You have not been able to do it. Yeah, but I just need 6 more months. Time is up. So, you had your time to destroy my church. Look at look at Job. You know, he still blesses me. You have lost. I gave you 100 years. These were the terms we both agreed. We both agreed. I give you 100 years. You get the controls of the church. Destroy it if you can. You had your 100 years, and you even have a few more years on top of the 100 years. Because I'm very fair play with you, Mr. Lou. And God is doing this to show the stability and the indefectibility of the Catholic Church. It can still survive. Right.
What was the year? The 100 years finished?
It was Leo XIII overheard the conversation, like in the book of Job, you could say, between Satan and Christ, about the church. Because Satan was probably nagging and complaining, you know, yeah, I always lose because you always give them more grace or everything, and then you always have this splendid apparatus in Rome and everything. Christ says, okay, all right, give it a try, see if it works. I don't think so, but you go ahead and try. Here are the keys. Knock yourself out. And sure enough, he pulled all the triggers and everything, and Vatican II and all that. Assisi I, Assisi II, Assisi III, Assisi IV now. Yeah.
No?
Yeah.
This October today, or?
I think it just happened. I didn't check the news. I think nobody pays attention anymore because it's been Assisi 23rd. So I think the big thing is Halloween of this year. In Lund, you know, with the common mass, with the common worship with the Protestants, the full common Protestant worship with the head of the Protestant Church. Now that's a step further, you know, into provoking God to say basta. But still, you can see that we are not buying it, you know. We are not interested. And many Catholics are in horror at what is happening. So they have not destroyed us, at least. That's why I'm not going to be a sedevacantist, because I'm not interested into the destruction of the visible society, which is the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church is a visible society, just like the Philippines are a visible society of men. I'm not interested to be reduced into a community of believers with nobody can get in touch with us, because we have become invisible with a hidden pope and so forth. So conclusion. Zoon politikon. Zoon politikon. Zoon in a zoo, you know? Zoon means animal, hence the name zoo. So, man is a political animal. It's a strange animal. one political. So
Is it Greek?
it's a Greek, yeah.
Maybe that's the second time. Maybe that's the second time.
Second time what?
Because you discussed that in psychology, I guess.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, yeah, psychology is
More social.
yeah, it's shares with animal life. Yeah. So man is a political animal. And the list of his needs suffices to prove it. The list of his needs suffices to prove it. The list of his needs suffices to prove it. So yeah, I need to write on this board, therefore I have to get the help of a society called Pilot, made in Japan. So I need their help. So there's a whole team assembling that thing. It's just to write on this board. I want to see through my glasses, therefore I had to call what's your name of these people. It's called the One or whatever, it's a brand of glasses and that's it. Anything you need, you have to call the help of others. And my office is to provide what others don't have. So what I don't have, I get it from others. So I avail myself of everything I need, and those who have needs avail themselves of what I have. That's the goal. That's the way we are as men. We are political animals. We cannot live all by ourselves. If a list of his needs can prove it, because God has created man as less as possible. God has created man as less as possible. See, God gave us a reason, but otherwise our body is very weak, very imperfect. You see the animals last night, where did they sleep? Anywhere. The goats and the animals, where do they eat? What do they eat? Well, they don't worry. They are very well fed. The goats, they are capable to eat grass, so they got. Can you imagine? All you see in the valley is food. Everything, this whole green valley, everything can be eaten by a goat. So they have no worry whatsoever about eating. The flies, they got no famine problem. The books. For the books, the food is all around them in suspension. There is even a tower, of food there, and it has 8 stories. With a cross, it's 10 stories, but there is 8 stories of solid book food. So they are eating. But we, if you dump us, naked in a countryside, help me, I'm starving, We are quite useless, quite hopeless. We are soul, body, and everything. And that's why God gave us a reason, and that reason leads us to, and the weakness of our body, coupled with the intelligence of our reason, pushes us to to go to each other to protect ourselves and provide ourselves. And then we end up being much more powerful than all the animals. We are the lords of all the animals. We control them. So, if some man can escape all society, if some man can escape all society, it will be for exceptional reasons. So, 3 cases. Bad fortune, like Robinson Crusoe. He is shipwrecked, So he's shipwrecked on a lonely island and everything. So it's always interesting to see how man will have to survive on. Most of the people who are shipwrecked alone on a lonely island, they usually die. Because something is missing. He didn't have the time to find water on the lonely island. It's too tiny. He didn't find a spring. There was no coconut trees there. So how do you do it? And then no rain came, so he died of thirst. But those who can survive are experts. Yes, they are heroes, like Robinson Crusoe.
That was true story.
Well, perhaps you had some types of Robinson Crusoes, yes, in ancient time. It does not happen very often, because when a plane crashes, everybody dies. When there is a shipwreck, usually they are picked up by helicopters before anything happens. So we don't have those stories a lot. But I think in ancient times, you had people landing on lonely island and they were able to survive alone. But only a few, you could say. So, ill fortune, or second, the corruption of nature. Weakness of spirit or pure madness, like Nebuchadnezzar. He became mad and completely unsociable, and so he went in the forest and he was eating grass. So because he did not understand, as Daniel told him, you did not understand that it is God who gives power to whomever he chooses. So you're gonna have 7 years. 7 years, you're gonna live like a goat, whatever. And so the whole court watched Nebuchadnezzar. They watched their God eating grass. So they waited 7 years. Then after 7 years, he became Nebuchadnezzar again. And then he fell into his pride again and tried to cook Daniel in the furnace. Didn't work. But for 7 years, God gave him to think about. So when you are crazy, yes, you go in the woods, but you become a very bad animal. In the 70s, the hippies. They did the experience. They took young children, put them in the woods, and they thought that they would be happy and perfect and everything. They became monsters, horrible monsters, worse than cannibals. Cannibals at least have good manners. And then they realized their mistakes, and they tried to get them out of the forest and everything, and to educate them. It was too late. They were demolished. And the third case is the excellence of nature. Rare cases. Rare cases enjoying supernatural gifts. Supernatural gifts. Like Saint Simon's stylite, he's on his column. He's on the top of the column there, and he stays there all his life. Now, how does he drink? How does he go to the bathroom? I don't know, but he's there year after year for 80 years. I don't know how long. People come, they watch him, and then they convert. They make the act of confession for their sins. They go to confession. I mean, it's supernatural. Or the hermits in the Thebes Valley in Egypt. One is able to fast of bread and water. No water for 40 days. So his skin is like papyrus or parchment in the end of Lent. He's prostrated in his cell. They are exceptions. Even emotionally, you know, if I go to a place, I stay alone somewhere, you know, I go to the top of the mountain there, and you just give me a jug of water and some food and everything. If I stay there for 1 month, you're gonna believe that I'm a prophet, you know. It's beyond what we can do.